Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now you've worked hard for 2 years. You've listened to your teacher and you've watched all my videos and your revision has gone really well. What can go wrong? Well, nothing should go wrong, but you can still blow it in the exam hall if you don't read the questions carefully. My mantra is, what's the instruction? What's the focus? Is there a key word or phrase? And look out for the word "and", because that means there should be 2 parts to your answer. So, what I'm going to do in this presentation is to share some past pitfalls with you. Now, there's nothing ever sneaky in your questions. Nobody is setting traps for you. That would be appalling. But it's easy in the heat of the moment to miss something in a question. Well, don't let that happen to you. Read the questions carefully. Now I'll begin by making sure you don't forget the instruction. Don't forget why means explain. Don't forget to end your answer to how far or to what extent by saying how far. And question A is usually a what, in what ways, or a describe question. Now I've done a past presentation on concepts. Don't forget to look out for them in your questions. If not concepts, then key words. Now here, first, I have 2 obvious examples for you. Why was the idea of collective security unlikely to be successful for the League of Nations? The policy of appeasement was justified. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. A brief definition of collective security or appeasement will not only help you focus, but will add to your marks. Another question for you. At the time, the Treaty of Versailles was justifiable. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. Justifiable is a concept you could usefully pick up on. Justifiable to the British and French people, or justified to Germans? Based on war guilt before and during the war, but how guilty was Germany? And the last question. The Munich conference was a turning point for Hitler's foreign policy. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. I would explain what a turning point means, which will lead you to discuss how Munich led to a change in attitude from Hitler regarding Britain and France, whilst in fact his policy of unpicking the Treaty of Versailles, of Lebensraum and smashing communism remained unchanged. Dates can be very important in a question, and if you're not sure about them, you might be better looking at another question to answer. And that leads me to another important point. Do look at all 3 questions in each set and choose the set that will best give you the most collection of marks. Now, for the first 2 questions, you might well think there's nothing for you to worry about, and I'm sure that's the case for you. But I'm telling you, every year students will still go on into the 1930s to answer these questions, and they will score very poorly. Why was the League of Nations unable to resolve all the international disputes of the 1920s? How far do you agree that the League handled disputes between states effectively in the 1920s? Explain your answer. But the next two questions are a little trickier. In what ways did Hitler undermine the Treaty of Versailles between 1933 and 1936? This first one, on Hitler and the Treaty of Versailles, underlines the importance of timelines. Another presentation of mine. Because knowing what happened between 1933 and 1936, and not including things that happened later, is crucial in getting the marks you want. Hitler withdrew from the League of Nations, openly rearmed and remilitarized the Rhineland. And this one I think is even trickier. Which was the more serious problem for the Soviet Union? Hungary in 1956 or solidarity in 1980-81? Explain your answer. I'm sure you'll have no trouble with Hungary and 1956. But solidarity in 1980-81 is very specific and tied to the birth of solidarity, its rapid growth and its legalization in 1980, only for the Polish government to introduce martial law, arrest its leaders and ban it at the end of 1981. Again, the importance of timelines. And one more for you. Germany was more responsible for war in 1939 than any other country. How far do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. This one requires you to think of what Hitler did leading up to his invasion of Poland, but also to think about what else happened before 1939. A good answer would include Japan and its invasion of Manchuria, and Italy's invasion of Abyssinia, as well as the Corfu crisis. Whereas, I'm not sure if I said the last one was the last one, but this is the last one. This last question I use here might lead to a key decision. Why were developments in Vietnam in the 1950s important to the USA? Clearly, it's all about the French in Vietnam. And if you don't know enough about that, best to look for another set of questions. But I'm going to leave you with a little tease on dates. How would you respond differently to these two questions? Why did some countries in the 1930s remain dissatisfied by the peace treaties of 1919 to 1923? And this one, how far do you agree with the view that the peace settlements of 1919-1920 left the important issues facing Europe unresolved? Explain your answer. My last word on this. Whether you use marker pens or just underline or circle words, have a system so that you don't lose sight of the instruction, the key word or the focus. And look at all three questions before you decide to answer them. As always, I do thank you for listening, and I do wish you the very best of luck with your studies. And as always with these skills presentations, I'll remind you that I may have a tutorial slot available if you are interested in that. If that's the case, just get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me again thank you for listening, and let's again wish you the very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.